First of all, I would say that obviously in this window has been really complicated to do any move for all top clubs. It's not just about Liverpool. So just to say to the Liverpool fans that also Spanish clubs and Italian clubs and German clubs, every top clubs is having any problem in this window. So the decision from Liverpool was we go for important players. And this is what the strategy of Liverpool also in the last years, as you know better than me, and in my opinion has been the key to win everything in the last year. So we go for top targets. If we can't have top targets, we don't sign any player and we stay with our team. So this has been the mentality of Liverpool board in the last year, and in my opinion, last years, and it's been perfect in my opinion, and the pitch is speaking just because you're winning everything, but it's been so smart also because you're saving money for the future, and that's the idea of Liverpool. So we are saving money to do something important next summer. If we have opportunities as last summer they had with Diogo Jota or this kind of deal, they will go again for this kind of deal, and they prefer not to sign players, for example, like Socrates. He was available on the market, he was offered to Liverpool, and they say, no, we prefer to stay with this team also if we are in a difficult situation with center backs. So they prefer to go with this kind of mentality, has been the key for the success to Liverpool, and they will continue like this. So I don't expect anything big in the coming days and a new player incoming, also because if they wanted the center back, they had 3 weeks to sign, and now they have Matip back, so it won't be so smart to sign the center back right now. But for sure, I agree with the opinion of Liverpool of we go for our team. Obviously, they have problems, but in this market with no money, with difficult economical situation for top clubs, spending money on a center backs you don't trust is ready for Liverpool level would be not so smart. This one, yes, I wouldn't say mistake just because, you know, when I'm talking about Liverpool, I can just say positive things because in my opinion, they're working as the best club in the world in this moment since many years. So I would say the word mistake with Liverpool is really difficult to use because really I love the style of Liverpool on transfers and not just on the pitch, but also the mentality they have on transfers. But yes, if I have to say my opinion, I would say that signing a new center back last summer after, as you said, Lovren was leaving the club, would have been smart just because in this kind of season, you know, when you are playing every 3 days with the situation of pandemic, so with the possibility of COVID cases, injuries and everything, having one center back more would have been like a smart move. So I agree with you when you say like this. I wouldn't say mistake, but with a new center back, it's been like perfect for Liverpool. But to be honest, more than agents, I think some clubs is trying to play with Liverpool to get some money. It's normal sometimes in the market. Also, clubs like that, they need money, so trying to push this kind of moves. But for example, talking about Botman, he's a player Liverpool board appreciate. They like him. They are scouting him. He's been amazing this season with Lille. So we're talking about a good player. For sure, Liverpool are looking at this kind of player for the future. Then when we talk about clubs like Liverpool, you have to imagine that the board of Liverpool are looking like, I think like 10 or 12 different center backs, and then they decide what is the perfect one for next summer. But Botman, for sure, he's a player that Liverpool are looking at, for example, also Tottenham, but he was never close or one step away from joining Liverpool. Absolutely, he was not close. Also because, as we say, they were not convinced about signing a center back in general this winter, and they prefer to wait a bit to have their typical meeting between March and April when they decide for the targets for the summer. And then in this case, with Jurgen Klopp, they will plan for next summer. But for sure, they need something in midfield if Wijnaldum will leave the club. So they are looking to be like ready if the situation of Wijnaldum will not be sorted out in the coming weeks. So midfielder, I would say center back for sure, as we said. And these are the two main positions. Then it's so important to understand the situation of the contracts, because when you have some stars like Salah, like Firmino, like Fabinho, like Van Dijk with 2 years of contract, you have to be ready to not having any problem in the future with their contracts. So they're also planning on this side of the new contracts of their stars, and for new signings, for sure, midfielder and center back. These are the two positions key for Liverpool in this moment. They have to decide also with Origi if going on with him as possible backup option with Firmino or going with a different player. But for sure, I think this will be the big moves for Liverpool. Obviously, this is right now. Then we don't know just because about the names, just because, you know, I think in the market, we can't plan too much also as a journalist and not just as clubs, because we have to understand if the next season we will have the fans back in the stadium or not, if the merchandising of the club will be back performing or not. At the moment, clubs are losing a lot of money, and big clubs in particular, clubs like Liverpool, they are paying salaries to their stars, but they are not having any incoming money. They are losing money just because of the stadium, the sponsor, the merchandising. So at the moment it's a complicated situation. But if next summer we will be back in a normal situation in our lives and also obviously in football, in this case, I expect also some big names moving, yes. At the moment they are planning, I'm not making any name just because at the moment it's not decided yet. You know, we're in January, obviously they will decide at the end of the season for this kind of things. More than at the end of the season, I would say around March and April, as I mentioned, because they always have this kind of meeting when they plan for next summer, for big targets and everything, But for sure, they are looking to sell some player, not stars obviously, but some player who's not involved in the team always. And you mentioned Marko Grujic, and also he could be also interesting to include in some swap deals. I'm told that there is the possibility that Grujic will be included in some swap deals next summer if Liverpool will have some good opportunities, for example, for the midfield or for the center back. He could be an interesting player to offer to this kind of clubs who look for this kind of player. So they will try to do something smart again. Okay, I said about big names, it will depend by the situation, the general situation after the pandemic. But about the smart names, I would say smart targets like Diogo Jota was last summer, in my opinion, has been a bargain because we're talking about an amazing player and they signed him for normal, spending a normal amount of fee. So at the moment, I think Liverpool will go also for this kind of deals and also for possible swap deals with players, as I mentioned, like Grujic, who could be interesting to be offered like in Ligue 1, in French football for sure. I'm told in the last weeks that the situation is getting really complicated with Gini Wijnaldum, just because the last bid from Liverpool was at the start of December and the player wasn't so happy with this bid by contract side. So he's seriously considering about his future, if leaving the club or not. At the moment, he's not decided yet. And what I'm told is that the guy is really respectful with Liverpool as a club, as a fan base, as people around the club. So obviously he loves Liverpool and he's respectful. So that's why he's not going to sign with any other club before telling Liverpool, okay, I don't want to stay here. He could do it just because he's available as a free agent also right now. So he will be free to do it. But at the moment, the player is going to respect Liverpool. He's not made this final decision yet, but it's really complicated. So I think that's why Liverpool are also planning for next summer to be ready if Wijnaldum won't sign his new contract, just because they were trying to, like we're talking about 6 months or 7 months trying to convince Wijnaldum with a new deal, and he's not signing it just because he's not so convinced by the economical part, and not only, also about the project, also about personal life to decide with his family. So at the moment is really difficult, but let's see, just because when we're in this kind of situation, for sure the player will make his final decision in some weeks. I think in February we will have the final decision. Wijnaldum. To be honest, I love Wijnaldum. I think he's really a fantastic player because he has everything. He has his skills, he's running, he's a fighter, he has quality, he's scoring goals, he's making assists. He's a winner. As all Liverpool players now, he's a winner. So in my opinion, they need to try to convince him in every way. But I also, to be honest, I'm so respectful with the situation of Liverpool, because talking with people around the club, but as I do with many clubs, European important clubs, in this moment, we have to understand that they are paying salaries and they are losing a lot of money, really. So it's not easy for Liverpool to go there. Like, okay, I'm sure that if we weren't in this kind of situation of the pandemic, they would have the agreement with Wijnaldum, 100%. And he was going to stay because they would have made a different bid. In this moment, to go with a different bid for this kind of player is difficult. It's absolutely difficult. And also a player could be tempted by moving from one club to another as a free agent, because when you move as a free agent, you are receiving a commission for your agent, also a fee at the sign of the contract for yourself, and a new salary, an important salary when you're moving as a free agent. So we have to respect also the situation of Wijnaldum, of his agent, and of Liverpool. But at the moment, I agree with you, and I would say, yes, I would love to see Wijnaldum again with Liverpool because he's perfect for club football too. And when you move to Barcelona with a new president, with a new team, probably with a new manager, you don't know what you're going to do. But I don't know if it will be Barcelona because it's everything open. Suma, yes, but we're talking about players scouted more than talks on at the moment, just because, as I mentioned, it would be like in March, April. For sure, Bissouma is scouted, yes, appreciated, yes, but they will make the final decision in the coming months. I would mention also Renato Sanchez, because Renato, there was some rumors for January, but he was never a target for January, just because, as we mentioned, Liverpool are not signing any player apart from opportunities in January. But for sure, for next summer, if Wijnaldum will leave the club, Renato Sanchez could be a good opportunity for Liverpool. They are looking at him as Bissouma, as other players, for sure, just because, Lille need money, for sure. Next summer, they will have to sell some players. And Renato Sanchez could be, in my opinion, a great opportunity, as Bissouma too. But also Renato's be scouted. So they have like a list, and they will make the final decision in April. We will see, but keep an eye also on Renato. In my opinion, Konate is as strong as Upamecano. Just to be honest, it's a personal opinion, because Upamecano has some match where he is like incredible and some match where he's not so perfect. So he needs to improve, but for sure he's an opportunity for 42 million euro release clause is really incredible. And Konate is also one of the players Liverpool are scouting, also because arriving at Upamecano is really difficult, just because when you have Bayern Munich involved in some race for players from the Bundesliga, it's really difficult to go and to match what Bayern Munich are offering. But for sure, Liverpool are interested in both. For sure, Konate has been scouted. For sure, the dream would be Upamecano also for Liverpool, just because it would be perfect in the opinion also of Jurgen Klopp. But at the moment, is so difficult. There is Bayern Munich, there is also Chelsea looking at him, Paris Saint-Germain. So when you have these kind of clubs and you have to negotiate with the player more than with Leipzig because you're paying the clause, so it's just up to the player and offering a big salary, this is not so easy. So for sure Konate is considered, but at the moment there is nothing like advanced, I think it's difficult. I think it'd be difficult just because, as I mentioned, but I won't be like worried. I hope that you can understand what I'm saying, but really looking also at the situation of Liverpool by the transfers point of view, in my opinion, if Liverpool won everything in this year and are having an amazing project with an amazing manager and an amazing team, is because they had the smart strategy on the market. I still remember when I was talking with people around the club when they signed Salah and Alisson, the start of this project, and Van Dijk and everything, building like top player after top player, top target after top target, and not random signing. When you do random signings, you have a problem because you're signing programs, you're signing players who have a big, obviously when you move to Liverpool, a big salary, and you're not so happy with the player. So to get rid of the player will be a problem in the future. So going for a smart deal and top deal, in my opinion, for top clubs is the only way today in this kind of football to win something. And that's why Liverpool have the best strategy in the world, in my opinion, at the moment. So not signing any player is not something negative in this case. I know that you need the center back. I know the feeling you want new players because it's amazing to have, here we go, and this kind of thing at your club. But at the moment, going with the same team and planning for the summer is something really smart. So I would love to do something with Liverpool because Liverpool fans every time get excited and everything. But at the moment, I think they have the best strategy. So if I would be a football fan of Liverpool, I would say I'm proud of my club, not just because we are winning, but also because the strategy is the right one. I want to be clear about Mbappe. He's still negotiating with Paris Saint-Germain. So to be honest, at the moment, people around Mbappe say we are negotiating with Paris Saint-Germain. Till we don't finish the negotiation with Paris Saint-Germain, we won't open any talks with other clubs. We have rumors about Liverpool, about Real Madrid, but at the moment they are still negotiating with Paris Saint-Germain. And you know better than me that the president and the owner of Paris Saint-Germain, he will do everything to keep Kylian Mbappe, not just because he's a star, but also for the future project of the club. So we have to see also what's going on, in my opinion, and what I'm told about the situation of the pandemic, because if we will be back in a normal situation, for sure we can start to talk about Liverpool and Real Madrid making moves for Kylian Mbappe if he won't extend his contract with Paris Saint-Germain. But if he will stay in this kind of situation without fans in the stadium and with no plans to do about it, spending, in my opinion, more than 150 million euro and paying an enormous salary to Mbappe, because the salary will be, I would think, around 20 million euro after taxes per season for Kylian Mbappe. So imagine it's like signing a new player every season. Would be really difficult. In this kind of situation with the pandemic would be like impossible for every club. But if we'll be back to normality, keep an eye on Mbappe for sure, just because if Paris Saint-Germain want to extend his contract, the situation will be open. But at the moment, I don't like to make people dreaming without anything advanced, and at the moment there is anything advanced. Yes, but this is a different situation just because they don't have any problem with the contract in this case, but they have a happy guy because Haaland is happy with Borussia Dortmund. He's at the club by 1 year. I know there are a lot of rumors about a lot of clubs about Mbappe just because are true, because these clubs like Liverpool and Manchester City and Chelsea, as you mentioned, but also Real Madrid and Barcelona and Juventus, they are looking at Haaland because, in my personal opinion, he's the best young talent in the world. So it's normal. And these clubs are following him and they have a relationship with Raiola. But at the moment, the player is happy. He's not asking to leave the club. He knows that he's a Borussia Dortmund only since 1 year. So he wants to continue scoring goals, playing Champions League football. Bundesliga is helping him also to be like with some experience in important football. But for sure, the plan of Borussia Dortmund would be like a bit different, because you know that next summer there are huge chances for them to sell Sancho, and selling both Sancho and Haaland in the same summer won't be in the perfect style of a German club. They like to keep players. So only if they could have an enormous bid, they could sell Erling Haaland, because his release clause will be valid only in 2022 and not next summer. And it will be around 75 million euro for Erling Haaland. So I think also Mino Raiola will push for Erling Haaland staying 1 year more, 1 season more with Borussia Dortmund, and then in 2 years, leaving the club and getting money. I really don't know. I really don't know, to be honest, just because at the moment there is nothing advanced with any of them, these players. So I don't know. I would get casual on Holland, but it's really, really difficult just because there is nothing at the moment advanced. When I say interesting, I'm mentioning something like Diogo Jota, you know? So it's not big name, obviously. It's not so exciting when you sign this player, but when you go on the pitch and you see the player, you like him. So they're looking to this kind of opportunities, you know? They think they have the possibility of signing this kind of player next summer again. It's not about the role, but the kind of player. So young one with good experience, ready to be a starter also with Liverpool if they need. So this kind of players. I mentioned Renato Sanchez, this kind of opportunity. In my opinion, Renato Sanchez will be a top deal for Liverpool, just because we're talking about an interesting midfielder. I know that you have the feeling about his Swansea time. He wasn't so good, but he's still so young. He's improving like match by match. I was watching him in San Siro against AC Milan Europa League. So this kind of players, in my opinion, will be the real target for Liverpool, and obviously some big names if they find in this position, so midfielder and centre-back. For sure this year. It will be this year, just because Liverpool want to arrive at the end of this year with an agreement or signed or verbally agreed. So they want to have like the word from Van Dijk, okay, we're ready to stay together. They've been really respectful with the player, just because immediately after the injury, they contacted him and his agent to say, Virgil, we want you in the future of the club. We are planning to extend this contract. Don't worry about your injury. We are with you. So they've been really great and the player appreciated it. So I think it will be like a step by step. First one will be Van Dijk with Fabinho too. So they're working about both to make a first bid and to open negotiation with both Van Dijk and Fabinho. But obviously they will go also in the coming months to start also with Mo Salah to understand about his salary and everything. So they're planning also for the new contracts. And trust me, today in football, to be ready with new contracts with this kind of stars is like signing new players, because it's getting really complicated. Look what's going on with players like Alaba and Sergio Ramos and Neymar and Mbappe and a lot of players in difficult situations, AC Milan with Çalhanoğlu, Donnarumma. So it's so difficult to extend contracts in this moment of football with the pandemic and everything. So Liverpool are planning about it, and I think in the coming months they will start with Van Dijk, then will be Fabinho, also because 1 year ago Fabinho received some bid from Spanish clubs and he said, no, I want to stay at Liverpool, and they want to give him what he deserves also by the economical part. So they're working on it. Won't be so fast, but they're starting to talk with Van Dijk and Fabinho. I think when we talk about negotiation of new contract with this kind of players, and Mo Salah is one of the best players in the world, it's like they decide for the future. More than the offer from the club is their decision. So after Mo Salah won everything with Liverpool and he's a star at Liverpool, he needs to make a decision. If staying at Liverpool, being a legend of the club as he is, or moving to any other club to try like a new experience. He was great in Italy. He has been fantastic in England, like moving in different country and try something new. So it's up to the player more than to Liverpool, just because Liverpool are saving money to offer him a new contract to make him like the star of the future, but it's up to the player. So they are waiting also to understand the final decision by the player. At the moment, Mo is totally happy with Liverpool, totally happy with Klopp. He's not planning to leave the club, to be 100% clear. But you know better than me that at the end of the season, you can think, okay, in the future, what I want to do. I don't think it will be nothing like imminent next summer, but it's planning for the future, what Mo Salah wants to do of his career. So they will discuss about it, but they are really quiet and really calm and relaxed just because they know that Mo is happy with Liverpool. And I think with this board, with this manager, and with this technical project, it's really impossible not be happy at Liverpool in this moment. I won't say no. At the moment, there is nothing advanced for them to leave the club or one of them to leave the club. So at the moment, I think they could stay also next season. That we will see with the market. We don't know what happens, but at the moment, there is nothing advanced. So I won't be like, okay, I have this problem with this player. No, they're happy. So we will see if a big bid will arrive next summer. I don't know. But at the moment, there is nothing. So I would be like relaxed with these three amazing players. Now, at the moment, no, for Barcelona it would be impossible. Barcelona are in a difficult situation by economical side. So if they sell players, if they lose Messi, if, okay, but at the moment there is nothing for Barcelona. And Real Madrid are planning for something different. I think they won't spend like 150 million euro or something like this for players in next summer. So they're planning for different kind of deals, like the ALABA one and more. So let's see next summer, but at the moment, no. He has an agreement, a verbal agreement with Real Madrid. So he has, I repeat, a verbal agreement because it's not signed yet. So they need to sign the agreement because with the free agents, till you have the contract signed, everything is open. But he has this verbal agreement with Real Madrid. So I think it will be difficult to change the situation also because his dream was to play for Real Madrid. His salary is ready, 12 million euro after taxes per season for next 4 years. So at the moment, Real Madrid are convinced they're going to sign David Alaba. Let's see if someone will change the situation. Liverpool made an important bid for David Alaba. Really, we're tempting the player. So let's see if he will change his mind. But at the moment, he's like with a verbal agreement with Real Madrid. So I think it will be really difficult to change the situation for English clubs. But when you are a free agent, everything really can happen, as I always mention, because I remember, for example, Adrien Rabiot signed a pre-contract with Barcelona, and then he signed for Juventus as the official contract. So with free agents, everything can happen. Till he signs the contract with Real Madrid, or the clubs will try, but he has a verbal agreement with Real Madrid, so it would be really difficult. They had the chance to sign him again, but they say no just because they were needing this kind of player. But why not in the future? I think the only place where Coutinho was really happy in his career, apart of Vasco da Gama, was Liverpool. So why not? Why not in the future? At the moment, there is absolutely nothing, to be honest. Also, because it's important the relationship with the agents in this moment in the market. And Liverpool obviously are looking at different players at the moment, also because of the style of transfers. But who knows in the future, why not? At the moment, I really don't know, just because they are not planning for this and they're happy with Jurgen. You know better than me that he is part of the club and more than part of the club. So there is nothing on this side. I would love to see Steven Gerrard just because he's doing amazing work with Rangers, and this kind of opportunity would be amazing as a football fan in general to see Steve Gerrard. So I'll say him. And also, why not for an Italian manager? I would love to say one day an Italian manager training Liverpool, like, I don't know if Massimiliano Allegri or Antonio Conte, this kind of manager, but I think they will go for a different style. So after you have Klopp, you can't go for a similar manager. You have to change because Klopp is, in my opinion, the best one. So that's why it will be really difficult to find a new one. Having Steven Gerrard would be like a dream.